Hello everyone, it's your friendly local Harringzord here with it's a recap. Because, it turns out a couple of GMAN divisions haven't really been getting an awful lot of love on the recap front. So I'm going to step in, going to try and help out where I can. And it's going to be a couple of the Division 4s, specifically to start with. Division 4A we're going to take a look at, and then it's going to be Division 4E later on, which in my accent is not massively easy to distinguish between the pair, but that's 4A and 4E. So we're going to dive straight in, and we're at the end of week 6 now. So coming up to the halfway point of the season, which means that we are beginning to find out who are the sort of forces to be reckoned with in each division, who's likely to have a shot at taking one of the top 2 places for the playoffs. So here we go. This is how it looked on week 6. First thing to say is that Rats, All Folks and Wolves and Stuff is very likely to go down as a win for Rats, All Folks and Wormster. Wolves and Stuff and Screwface are likely to have to drop out of the league due to, I think, PC issues, the last I heard. They've been missing for a few weeks now. So the likelihood is that they may be replaced by a new coach for week 7. So keep your sort of ears to the ground for that one, I guess. So Rats All Folks are going to pick up a 1-0 admin concede win there, and that's going to be their 2nd win of the season. So what else happened? So the Juice Tuco Chuffs lost 1-0 at home to Avenging Murder Wolves. That's Chaos Dwarfs against Norse. And you got to say, at first glance, it's a pretty good result for Norse to be taking on Chaos Dwarf and winning. That being said, Justuco Dwarfs are a little bit low on the old team values. So I think going into this one, they were possibly a good 200 to 300 TV down, possibly even more. After the game, Ricky Titans Marlborough 920 TV compared to Jay Sentinel and the Murder Wolves, who were at 1430. So 1-0 win, probably going to form on that one. Nobler getting the MVP, not at all useful for Ricky there. But I think this Berserker MVP here, Half Dane, is damn good news. He's now, a couple of touchdowns or 3 casualties away from another level. Plus movement and guard means he's not exactly the biggest killer of the two. But I think the thing that I took from this game was the amount of blocks thrown by the North. 72 is massive, which suggests they were really considerably based up against the Chorfs all the time, but threw more than twice as many blocks, which again resulted in, more than twice as many injuries. 5 casualties on the Chaos Dwarf team. That's heavy going. So these Norsemen pack a punch, has to be said. Though they do only have one Mighty Blow player on the whole team, and that is the Yeti Snowball. He has a level due after this week. He's managed to reach 16 SPP. But other than that, it's all sort of agility-based stuff. We've got a Berserker with dodge and a movement bust. Might be worth a fire on that one. This one is plus movement and guard. And then we've got 2 runners, both with dodge. And then a dirty player and a tackle lineman and a kicker as well. So not packing the Mighty Blow at all, but still managing to make light work of the Chaos Dwarfs this week. Presumably the Yeti did quite a bit of damage in that one. And I guess we can confirm that by looking at the SPP. Snowball picking up a whopping 8 SPP, which suggests that he removed a good solid 4 Chaos Dwarfs all on his own. So well played, that Yeti. Another 2 for Greldick and 3 for Aegir. I think you would say that. Making that a pretty good result for Jay Sentinel. Be happy to have taken on the presumably bashier Chorf team and picked up a win. The Chorfs, as I said, are down at 920 TV. So they've taken a bit of a beating. They've only got a couple of Hobgoblins. 1 Bull Centaur's missed next game, which explains why we're missing 170k off that. That is a block break tackle who's taken a movement bust. bad news for Pendrados PL Quemada there. I think I pronounced that right. Have to consider whether to keep him around, of course. Sure feet means, and the sprint means you can still get him about 8 squares. And by about 8 squares, I mean 8 squares. But a couple of guard and a mighty blow on this team as well, who really just need to keep things alive for a few weeks. It doesn't look like they're going to be challenging the playoffs, the Chorfs. So it's all just about development from here on in and just keeping players alive. Don't go near any Yetis for a while, I think, if you're Ricky Titan at this point. PTSD possibly on that front. So moving on to the next game, which is Terragarian against Leoric's new best friend, which is Geoxy's Vampire team. If I remember correctly, that's a 1-0 win for the Vamps over the Orcs. The Orcs have been struggling a bit this season, find themselves towards the foot of the table. That's another defeat for them. They did win the armor war, but they did not win the score war, if you like. 51 blocks to 34, doing much more damage and inflicting a kill as well, but not enough to snatch the draw. Presumably the offensive drive went wrong somewhere. Difficult to attack against vampires, of course, because of all that hypnotic gaze. How did it look on the SPP? Well, Wilhelm Cheney made a pass at some point. And Zoltan Kuhl scoring the touchdown. Checking out some of the dice rolls. 73% on the Bloodlust. So that's more Bloodlust fails than you'd expect, to be fair. But only 15 activations of vampires in the entire game. It's really interesting, actually. How many vampires are on that team? There are 1040 TV. And there's 3 vampires. So, on average, we activated each vampire 5 times across the course of a 16-turn game there. That is really, really light on the activating vampire front, unless I'm missing something there. We have a Mighty Blow and a Dodge Vamp on this team, which is pretty good stuff. Not much else in the way of development at all. A Tackle, a Block, and a Dirty Player Thrall. But that being said, Leorics are in a pretty good spot. They are 4 wins and 2 defeats, which puts them right in the mix amongst the teams challenging for the playoffs. Terragarian, unfortunately, are, well, they're without a win at all. They've got 1 draw and 5 defeats from their 6 games. So, where are they? They are here. Quantum Hover, having a bit of a tough time of it so far. But he's starting to get some nice development on the team, which has to be a good thing. Mighty Blow, Tackle, Blitzer is lovely. That's exactly what you want. A Guard Blitzer is okay as well. Black Orcs, one of them has Block. Another 2 within a casualty of leveling up as well. Maybe like to see some Guard on the Black Orcs just to increase that strength advantage. 4 rerolls as well, which is possibly giving them a little bit too much team value for what they've got on the team. And the thrower taking Kick is probably an interesting choice as well. You would expect him to maybe take something like Block or Sure Hands. But Kick is, I guess, an interesting tactical pick, but you're more likely to want that on a lineman, all things being considered. So, yeah, good win for Joxy and Leoric's new best friends. I was about to call them Leoric's Race, which was the name of his old undead team. But, of course, it's the new best friends now. Good win there. Right, okay, I think this one is going down as my game of the week, this next one. Because, well, what I was hoping to do was a bit of a result or upset of the week feature. But I gotta be honest, most of the results in this division went exactly according to the script. Certainly in terms of the league table. So, well, question marks for Misu because I don't know how to pronounce that team name, so I'm just going to call them Face from this point forward, because I'm presuming that is trying to make a face of some sort. Answers on a postcard, please. What on earth I call Misu's Skaven team. Going out 4-2. That's right. 4-2 winners over the Scholars of Ogre Hampshire. And that is a lot of touchdowns. It's an awful lot of touchdowns. Not many blocks thrown at all. So we weren't really bothered about hitting each other. More concerned with getting that ball over the line. And SPP across... Oh, all the players are named that as well. So, gotta be honest, if this team makes it to playoffs, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare to cast it. That is a painful team naming scheme you've got going on there, Misu. Plenty for the Scholars of Okerhamshire as well. Reginald Bonefist picking up 5 SPP, which looks to me like it was very possibly a touchdown and a pass, maybe. Yorb also picking up what looks like a touchdown. Presumably he was thrown great distance. And then the Wealthiest Coffee picking up what must be 3 casualties there. Scholars inflicting 5 casualties in total. So that would add up. 3 for Coffee, 2 for Itchybold, and 1 for Itchybold and 1 for Bonefist. But 4-2 defeat in the end. Have a quick look at those teams. So the Skaven Face team, not looking too bad at all. We've got a movement 10 2-headed gutter runner who just needs sprint to be a natural one-turner. We've also got an Agi 5 gutter runner as well who's due a level. And then one of them with wrestle. Taking 3 missed next games. One of them was an armor break on these linemen, but linemen are fodder and no one cares. Mighty Blow and Tackle on this Storm Vermin, and just Mighty Blow. Would love to roll a claw on this one when he levels up. But it's been a very good start for Misu so far with the team. They are top of the pile, or certainly up there, with 5 wins and only 1 defeat so far, which is good stuff. Unfortunately, the Scholars, who I've cast a couple of their games this season, the Ogres, and they've lost all 6 games, sadly. But they have been damn good fun getting there. 6 Ogres. Magnificent stuff. Positively massive 1480 team value for this stage of the season as well. But they got 2 Block Ogres and 4 Break Tackles, so they can move around. Oh, holy smokes. An Agi 5 Nobbler. Okay. We're on board with that. No wonder he's scoring touchdowns. He can stick landings anywhere. Agi 5. He's going to be useful. Probably a Nobbler that might have actually earned himself Apo rights on this team. So that is a rare thing indeed. A Nobbler worth 100k. That's pretty impressive. Okay, we will move on to the Suffragettes, who took a 2-1 defeat to the Bloodthirsty Seaguard. That one, I think, is Amazons against High Elves. Certainly is. That is a nice linewoman. That is Agi 4, movement 7. And only now 1 SPP away from another level again, where hopefully you might be able to pick up block rather than more stats. But close game, this one. The High Elves thrown quite a lot of blocks, actually. 41. But only managing to inflict a single KO and a single injury. Amazons, of course, being notoriously difficult to hit until you have a whole bunch of tackle. But that being said, a whole bunch of SPP for the Seaguard, who are joint top of the table. They also have 5 wins and 1 defeat so far. So there's no undefeated teams in this division. Everyone has lost at least once. And it's pretty close at the top, as we'll see after we've sort of gone through all the games. And we move on to the leaderboard. 4 passes and so 6 completed passes. Plenty of passing going on in this game. The Amazons only having the ball for 12% of the game, which is not very much at all. Elves very much controlling things for the most part. So how are they looking? Where are we? So Taladaras's team here, in pretty good nick, has to be said. So we have a Mighty Blow lineman. We have a guard lineman. And we have a plus movement thrower and strong arm as well. So, and only 1 SVP away, and you'd imagine he'll make that pass from possibly picking up accurate or something of that nature. And you've got a bit of a quarterback on your hands there. That is quite a nice thrower in development there. Marcus Kane. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for him. Finn Collins is a blitzer with tackle and dodge, but a movement bust, so possibly... would you consider firing him? Maybe. Maybe. You can probably keep up with play at movement 6. Bellamy Blake there with the same thing. Tackle and dodge. And a catcher with blodge as well. But a couple of rookies who were only a pass or a touchdown or hell, even a casualty if they can find it away from a level themselves. 9 players means it's a couple of loaners that are quite expensive and add 140k to that team value for the start of every game. So they're actually more like 1430, something like that. They had a weird Latin stadium there, which is weird. But not looking too bad at all. They love pain, blood, and alcohol, and winning as well. So far, they've been doing very, very well indeed, and are right in the hunt for the playoffs. Who did they play? They played the Suffragettes, who are presumably around here somewhere. Ninja Breadman's team, who are also towards the top division, to be fair. They've got 4 wins and 2 defeats. Second highest scoring team in the division, but taking a defeat. That one was probably the sort of match of the week in Division 4A between two sides right towards the top. That team's looking very nice. They've got 3 stat-ups, one of which is on a Blodge guard blitzer. Maybe Mighty Blow might have been useful there, but we've already got a couple of Mighty Blow players in Hippolyta and Zenobia. And we have a couple of Blodge linewomen. We have a thrower who hasn't leveled yet, and a catcher with sidestep. And yeah, not a bad looking team at all. What else happened? 2 more games to look at. The Underworld Unimpressives, the Underworld team. And the Revolutionary Corpses played out a 1-1 draw. Gerard the wrong way. He's going to level up, but he is injured. Don't know if it's a permanent. We'll have a look. Oh, wow, he rolled plus strength. Fair enough, Gerard, mate. We'll take that. Raoul the thrower also levelled and helped himself to fend, which is interesting early choice. Very situational skill, fend. But can be quite useful. It's probably sort of skill you take more towards level 4 or 5. Maybe kick-off return. That you see a bit more on Khemri throw-rows this early in the development. But he does have blood, or block, sorry. Not blodge, he doesn't have blodge amongst all those skills. And sure hands as well, which is something that comes as standard on a throw-row. So I am talking nonsense, ignore me entirely. How did this one go? Very close on the blocks, equal on the casualties, and fairly even on KOs as well, which suggests probably ended a draw, and it certainly did. Quite a bit of SPP, so not a bad result, although it has to be said, the Underworld Unimpressive started off very well and have been in what you might call unimpressive form over the past few weeks. They've, I think they started out with 3 wins from 3, unless I am mistaken. Just checking that out on League Manager in the background. Yeah, they won, and they won their first 3 games, and then it's been 2 draws and a defeat in their last 3, so it's JP Casey's team, isn't it? He's on a bit of a bad streak, but I'm sure they can turn it around. That is a nice tentacles troll. And that is a lot of players on this team. We've got Goblins galore over here. We've got Skaven Blitzer with Claw Mighty Blow. Perfect. Another one with Mighty Blow. We have a thrower with Blodge, which is very nice. We have a couple of linemen who are developing quite nicely as well. Wrestle and Tackle. Presumably he'll be Wrestle Tackle when he gets there as well. And then the Goblins are Goblins. They'll stick around until they die or roll plus strength, apparently. So that's the Unimpressives. And who did they play against? They played against the Revolutionary Corpses, the Khemri team, who are also developing quite nicely. That is an Agi 2 Tomb Guardian. Bold. Agi 2 and Mighty Blow. That's an interesting player. Is Joseph S there? Just because you roll Agi doesn't mean you always take it, but I guess that gives him a 4+ to dodge out and try and keep himself up with play, if you are that way inclined. Carl M has guard, and a block Tomb Guardian is nice as well. Picking up a double to get that. We have a Blitzra with Mighty Blow. Blitzras are a little undeveloped. The Throw-Raws are very developed. Going the 2 Throw-Raw, and let's get them developed straight off the bat route here. Oh, this one has kickoff return, which is presumably why this one took fend. Then we have a skeleton with kick, and a skeleton with block, and a skeleton with plus movement, which is possibly a little bloaty. Don't know how useful plus movement is for a skeleton, but it's not very useful at all when he's missed next game. It's not a niggle. But I don't know how useful a plus movement skeleton is, really. I guess you can get to fouls at a longer distance. But doing a GFI and have a dirty player is probably a better use of a fouler, if that's the route you're going for there. But how are the corpses doing? Haven't actually mentioned that. They are, well, they're actually one place behind the Underworld Unimpressives who they played. So that was the two teams in the middle of the table picking up a point apiece, and not really a good result for either if they're looking at breaking the top two. One more game left, and Absolute Disaster won a close one against Grim Guardians. It was 1-0 to Thomas T and his Dark Elves against Cthulhu Collector. Absolute Disaster, that's, well, it's a casualty or a touchdown or however you want away from a Movement 8 Blodge Blitzer getting another level, which has got to be good news. Larry Fine seems to be hoovering up MVPs for Cthulhu Collector, and is possibly worth firing so he stops. Although he did roll guard, so he's at least made some use of himself. Block guard is actually pretty good on a zombie. So even though he's rolled a whole bunch of MVPs, he's at least done something useful with his time. I think it's 2 MVPs and actually a kill and a whole bunch of injuries. So I take that back, Larry Fine. You are a bit of a god zombie. Fair play, son. Fair play. 10 injuries already. That can't be right. 10 injuries on a zombie this early in 10 matches. He's averaging a casualty a game, this zombie. That is nuts. Oh, his casualties 5. So armor breaks 10. There we go. I was going to say. So the Dark Elves actually out blocking the Undead, which is interesting. But not inflicting any casualties at all. Undead dominating the ball possession, but not able to turn that into a touchdown. And not much, well, in fact, not much SPP either way, to be honest. So we'll have a quick look over the teams. 1,500 makes the Dark Elves the highest team value team in the division. And, well, don't they deserve it? Look at that. That's an Agi 5 movement busted. Kim Jong-un. Then dodge galore. Useful when there's not an awful lot of tackle knocking around this division. Witch Elf with Mighty Blow is nice. This Blitzer's very nice, as we've already said. Volcano 2.0 as Blodge. And this Runner with Accurate and Leader and a Pass as well. Becoming a little bit of a quarterback. Probably like a roll a double for Strong Arm in a few levels' time. Hogging a lot of SPP is Flood. Seems like Flood and Meteor doing most of the work on this team in terms of touchdown scoring. Just a 2 reroll build. But they seem to be coping just fine. They're another one of those teams on 4 wins and 2 defeats. But every single player on the team except this Witch Elf has a level of some sort, which explains where the high team value comes from. So Cthulhu Collector's Undead team are lacking a little bit of firepower, it seems. Because it's a fully fit team, but they're just lacking levels. Neither Mummy has managed to get the job done yet. Got 1 white with Tackle. The zombies seem to be doing most of the work. Mo Howard also presumably hoovering up MVPs. Yeah, 3 MVPs for him. So can't get the MVPs on the positionals at this point. Neither Ghoul has any SPP, which suggests they aren't scoring any touchdowns. And a couple of skeletons as well. So we're going for a bit of a zombie/skeleton mix on this team. Cthulhu Collector, as we're going to have a look at the division now. Down in 11th, 2 wins and 4 defeats. So, overall, how is this one looking? Well, it's really, really close up here, isn't it? Misu and Teladaras tied at the top. Nothing much to split them at all. And I think the only thing splitting them by our tiebreaker would be touchdown differential, which is in favour of the Skaven. They're +7 as opposed to the High Elves +5. Misu having scored 14 touchdowns, by far and away the highest scorers in the division. He's been running them in for fun in his 6 games. Then we got 4 teams hot on their heels on 12 points. 3 points off the top. Not many draws at all in this division, all things considered. None of the top 6 have drawn any games at all. So it's Norse, it's Dark Elves, it's Amazons, and it's Vampires making up the chasing pack. So all to play for. Only the top 2 qualify, remember. The Underworld Unimpressives are only a point behind on 11. Having only lost once, but having picked up a couple of draws against sides below them in the table, which is probably a little frustrating for JP Casey. But he's still in the mix. The only issue is he's probably likely to have to overcome some of the sides above him. if he wants to make the playoffs. But got to beat most of the teams if you want to get there. Towards the bottom, it's rough going for the Scholars of Oldhampshire, who still don't have a win or even a point to their name. But it's not for a lack of entertainment, it has to be said. Maisie's been giving it his best shot. Bonehead's always tough. We think Wolves and stuff are possibly dropping, so it could be a new team coming into this spot, which will add a little bit of spice to the division. Khemri and Chaos Dwarf sort of sitting around the mid-table point are going to need a serious run of form and lots of drop points at the top to be able to sort of make a challenge on the playoffs from there for Luke Lazy and Ricky Titan. But a nice development season would be good, and they can maybe make a run at it next time out. Although, of course, they will move up from the fresh team divisions if they do choose to stick around with these teams. Grim Guardians and Rats All folks are going to be joint after Wormster gets what we assume is going to be his admin win. So they're going to be tied on 2-0-4. And then Terragarian still looking for their first win. Hopefully they'll get it soon. Take a look ahead to next week. And Terragarian are going to be playing against the new team if they come in. I don't know what race that'll be, so it's all up in the air at the moment. Could be Pro Elves. I think one of the two teams on the reserve list is Pro Elves. I don't know what the other one is. So we'll see if Pro Elves might be joining the mix here. Misu is up against the Justuco Chorfs. So that one's going to be all about whether the Chorfs can do damage to the Armour 7 again. Misu might be confident of outrunning them and scoring a few more touchdowns. His big rival, of course, are the Bloodthirsty Sea Guard, and they're playing the Revolutionary Corpses, which is a tough game up against the Undead. The Undead do have one tackle white off the top of my head, so may be able to take down some of those High Elves. I think Tiladaras will be confident of being able to get a win there. What else is happening? Well, the Suffragettes are playing Rats All folks. Rats All folks who've been down towards the bottom, so Ninja Bread Man will be looking to get a win there after his defeat last week, or in week 6. Underworld Unimpressives need to get back to winning ways against the Avenging Murder Wolves. That's a big game. That should be quite a good one to watch. And similarly as well, Absolute Disaster taking on the Oryx new best friends. That's two of the teams who had those 4-0-2 records, remember? So, big game there. Finally, Grim Guardians are taking on the Scholars of Oldhampshire. So that's two of the sides towards the bottom. Cthulhu Collector will be hoping to lay the smackdown on that Agi 5 Noblar, I presume. And the Scholars will be hoping to get their first win, or maybe even a draw, just to get a point on the board. Because unfortunately for Maisie, it is 6 defeats out of 6 so far. So hopefully, he'll be able to pick up a win or a draw or something soon enough. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this recap of Division 4A. Going to move on to Division 4E now. Which is all the way over here. So another full division. All of our fresh divisions are nice and full, which is what we like. So how did week 6 go over here? Well, there's still an unplayed game. I think Uncured Pestilence may also going to be dropping from the division as well. We haven't heard from Excelius in a while. Plenty of touchdowns here as well. We'll start at the top where Wroughton Armour, Prague Dynamo, took a 3-0 loss to the Cold One Cannibals. That is pretty rough going for the Kislev. Maxim the Magician picking up. It was just a badly hurt by the looks of things there. That injury, but getting the MVP. 15 armor breaks to 3 for the Cold One Cannibals. So, good week for King Can, who picked up a healthy amount of SPP as well. The Cold One Cannibals are 4th in the table after that one, while Prague Dynamo are 2 wins and 4 defeats, but all the way down in 12th place. Have a quick look at how the teams are developing, and Wroughton Armour is not looking too bad. We've got a bear on this team, Big Mama, who has stand firm. Useful combination with the prehensile tail. Ivan Dragonov has block. And then we have a guard lineman and a dodge lineman. Not many positionals on this team. It seems to be mostly linemen. 1 blitzer and 1 catcher. So Keeping it trim on the positionals in order to get the bear into the team doesn't quite seem to be working out for Rotten Armour so far, but I'm sure it's a fun experiment with this Kislev team. Vladimir the Wanderer taking a movement bust, possibly wants firing at some point. Afford a replacement, but might be saving up for another catcher perhaps. We'll see if Rotten Armour chooses to invest. Meanwhile, Cold One Cannibals here, 13-30 Lizardman team, coming along very nicely indeed, although the Skinks have taken a bit of a battering, and we have 2 sneaky gits. So, very much focused on the fouling game, which is interesting. An interesting approach. We have 2 Blocksaurus and a Mighty Blowsaurus, and another Saurus within 1 SPP of a level, although the other 2 Saurus stuck on 0 don't look like they're going to be leveling anytime soon, unless we can find a nice MVP in the right spot. So King Khan going well despite the lack of levels on the team. Again, the high team value coming from the 4 rerolls he's opted for. But it's working out for him on the whole. He's got 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat. And he's only given up 3 touchdowns all season, which actually means he has the best defense in the entire division. Which is impressive stuff considering the caliber of some of the other coaches in this division. Speaking of which, Pete, former GMAN 1 champion, now playing with the Necron Warriors. He got a 2-1 win this week over Fabulous Darling, who are a high elf team. It looks like it was a fairly close game. Quite even on the blocks. So the high elves throwing their fair share of blocks, but not much in the way of casualties, just 1 each. But a couple of touchdowns for Slayer and Patch are useful SPP there. Not really a great deal to say about that one. Pete got a 2-1 win. We'll have a look at how the teams are doing. 13-30 means the Warriors are coming along quite nicely. They have a pair of block wolves, no doubles yet. Block flesh golem as well, which is of course a standard skill on a fleshy. The whites are quite nice. We've got an Agi4 guard white and a plus movement white. Of course, it does mean we're lacking Mighty Blow. There's no Mighty Blow anywhere on this Necro team. It's already at 13-30, so possibly lacking a bit of punch. 1 ghoul at the bottom, Tomb Smasher, who looks like he could be a new purchase. Yeah, he's had 1 game. So we'll be looking to develop him up sometime soon. But Pete's not actually had a great start of the season. He's right down in the mid-table. With only 10 points, 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats. So it's possibly a long shot that we'll see Pete making the playoffs here. But he'll certainly get some nice development on the team over the course of the season, I'm sure. And maybe next season we can see him repeat his trick with Art of the War from a few years ago and get himself into the playoffs. Meanwhile, Fabulous Darling, Umbrella Hat's team, are again lacking a lot of skills. We have guard and dodge, we have blodge, and we have an accurate thrower, 1 block lineman and 1 kick lineman. Kick's quite nice, to be fair, on an elf team. You can get the ball deep and get some pressure high up the field. Still early in their development, of course, as a team. High elves, not the quickest team for leveling up. They've got 2 wins and 4 defeats, so the same record as Rotten Armour. They've only actually suffered 1 casualty in the whole season, so they seem to be quite sturdy elves. This one here, to Maximilian, is, according to Blood Bowl 2 League Manager, the only casualty that this team have suffered in the entire season. Yeah, which is confirmed by the game. So that's actually quite impressive stuff. They're quite good at protecting themselves, which is useful for high elves, of course, because they are notoriously expensive to replace. Have a lot of money in the bank, so it'll be interesting to see what Umbrella Hat has planned for that. Normally you'd expect a couple of players to have maybe died by this point. Okay, what else happened? Well, Burning Inferno got a 2-1 win over We Love Fruits. The undead side there, picking up the win over the Wood Elves, who are, I think, bottom of the division. Soul 96 was a new join. He joined sort of, I think, maybe week 3, week 4. But he's been taking a bit of a battering, if I'm honest, in that time. We'll take a look at the team in a moment, but 2 injuries and 1 kills, and of course a dead MVP for We Love Fruits. Useful MVP on a white means he's 1 touchdown away from a level, and you'd like to see Mighty Blow added to that tackle on Frankie Gnarly. Rick Ghastly and the Spice Ghouls and Paul McChewy all picking up some nice SPP. Have a look at how they're doing. Falcon Merc at 1170. 1 level on the Mummy. We've got guard there. Basically means he didn't roll a double, of course. Kanye White has no SPP, which is a little frustrating. I don't know if he's maybe a replacement. No, he's had 6 games and hasn't picked up a single SPP. Man, that's got to be frustrating. But we do have a Blodge Sure Hands Ghoul in Spice Ghouls, which is quite nice. And a Block Zombie, a Dirty Player Zombie, and a Wrestle Zombie. And a nice set of names on this team as well. Big fan of this team. Meanwhile, it's not looking great reading for We Love Fruits. Because there ain't many of them. There's a single War Dancer that just has sidestep. And then there's a bunch of linemen. 5 defeats out of 5. Although they did pick up the record of... In fact, they might have joined in week 2 in that case. Picked up the record of one of the admin lead teams. But they have... Well, they've suffered 4 deaths. And 10 casualties already. They've been taking an absolute battering. And considering they're in a fresh team division and there's not an awful lot of Mighty Blow knocking around, that is quite some record. Down at a paltry TV 780, so they can possibly be looking at picking up maybe Jordell Fresh Breeze already. Although that being said, they've only got 8 players, so 3 journeymen coming in at 70k pushes them back up towards the 1,000 mark. So it's tough going for Soul 96 so far. Yeah, against maybe some of the teams that are starting to develop a bit more. We can play Inducement Ball a bit, maybe against the Cannibals or the Necron Warriors. Right now, it is tough going. All right, moving on. And Andy Davo picking up a cracking 4-0 win over the 3 Mouseketeers and Spares. Davo's... I don't know if it's Andy Davo or Andy Davo. I should probably find that out. But I'm just going to go with Davo for now. 22 armor breaks as well. Not only running in the touchdowns, but basically sort of shellacking, I think is the word I'm looking for there. Skaven to one side. 2 deaths. So this is a statement from the Dark Elves. Of course, I think most of us know that Andy is a very, very good Dark Elf coach. 87% ball possession. Quite impressive. And thrown 61 blocks as well. Look at that SPP. Quick calculation tells me that is 9, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 21, 27 SPP picked up. That is some going. And pretty much the entire team getting at least something. 10 separate players picking up SPP in that game. That is just rude. Unsurprisingly, that means that Andy is now top of the table in this one. So we'll have a look at how his team's coming along as well. 1340. 4 blitzers, just the 1 Witch Elf that has Wrestle, so we're going for the ball sacking route. Steve the runner has Leader and Pass. And then the linemen are coming along nicely. We've got a block tackle lineman and a couple more blocks and a guard. Blitzers are Blodge, Blodge, Blodge. And Tom Schnizzle has Mighty Blow, which probably explains where all of his SPP came from against the Rats. 3 Mouseketeers, brackets, and Spares. Big fan of the team name. Big fan of the... well, the team generally is looking quite good, but they just had a horrible, horrible time against the Dark Elves. So it'll be some recovery from there. They'll need to pick themselves up and get back on with it. Hasn't done their touchdown differential any good. Although, having said that, they had only conceded 2 touchdowns prior to that all season and had scored 10 themselves. So Pixie Rail was going great guns until the train sort of came off the tracks in week 6. But an Agi5 Gutter Runner's nice. And a Mighty Blow Storm Vermin is well on the way to hopefully rolling a double for that claw. And... yeah, he's like just the 3 casualties, so it's taken him. The MVP's helped him out. Taken a little bit of time to get him up to speed. But I'm sure we'll get there. He's now within MVP range of the level, so we'll be hoping it lands there in week 7. Okay, so the next one is, I think it's going to be an admin win for Fetche Lavash against Uncured Pestilence, who I think are dropping from the league. So we'll move on to Samoa, who picked up a 2-1 win against the gender-neutral Elves. Chaos, and it's early doors Chaos, getting a win against Wood Elves, which is quite impressive stuff, to be fair. Clearly the War Dancer's not able to do as much harm as the Wood Elves would have liked. Oh, and I got 2 SPP. Hello, I'm on this team. So Crusader with 8, Sage with 2, Shawnee with 2, Lash with 3, and myself with 2. Riley picking up 5, and Phoenix picking up 3 for the Elves. It looks like Samoa and Steve managed to just lock the ball down for the vast majority of the game. I don't know if maybe the War Dancers were removed early doors or something of that ilk. Let's have a look at these teams. Samoa developing very nicely indeed, and they're right up towards the top of the division. They're currently one of the closest challengers to Andy Davo at the top, which is impressive stuff. Always impressive to see Rookie Chaos going so strongly after just 6 games. Of course, 4E means that none of these teams played in the Greenhorn Cup. So we have a Mighty Blow block Beastman, we have a Wrestle Beastman, we have a Strength 4 Beastman. Chaos Warriors lacking a little bit on the level front, so wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a couple of greedy touchdowns on those if we can get the chance. But yeah, this team coming along quite nicely indeed. Who did they play against? They played against the gender-neutral Elves, who have a tree, and they have 2 War Dancers, one of which has Strip Ball, one of which has Guard. They have a Block Catcher and a Kick Lineman. The team's coming along quite nicely. They just weren't able to get the job done against the Chaos this week, but they are still having quite a good season. They are more wins than defeats. 3-1-2, so they're tied with Heat towards the middle of the table. They have a positive touchdown difference, which is nice. They have suffered 12 casualties, which is quite a lot. Not quite as many as We Love Fruits, who've taken a hell of a lot. Casualties, 17, and they've only played for 5 weeks. But they could be in the reckoning, gender-neutral Elves. It depends how they go over the next couple of weeks. Probably need 2 wins in the next 2 to really get themselves back up towards the top of the table. Alright, one more game to look at, and it's a draw between Parmu and Priest. Adult Entertainment, the Amazon team, going up against the Underworld team of Priest, Grumpkins, and Snarks. Fairly even across the board, really. Amazons do quite a lot of blocks, but weren't able to inflict much damage, minus this kill, which you would presume was to a Goblin, but we'll have a look and see if anything important's missing off Grumpkins and Snarks. Fairly even across the board on SPP, 11 here and 13 there. So, useful development for both teams. How are they looking on the whole? So, Adult Entertainment are joint with Samoa at the moment. And no, in fact, they're not. They are 2 points behind. They're undefeated. They've got 3 wins and 3 draws. But Samoa having 4 wins and 2 draws puts them 2 points clear. But starting to develop quite nicely, these Amazons. They're staying alive as well, which is always useful. 140k in the bank, so we've not really need to replace anything as of yet. We've got a Blodge Step Catcher, we've got a Mighty Blow Blitzer and a Tackle Blitzer, a Block Thrower, Betsy on her back, and a couple of Wrestle Linewomen and a Guard Linewoman as well. So Parmu going alright so far. Grumpkins are due a level, and they seem to have 2-headed goblins galore. Tentacles on the Troll. 2 Skaven Blitzers, 2 Skaven Throwers, 2 Skaven Linemen suggest that it was a Goblin that died last time out, unless that Blitzer's brand new. No, he's not. He had 6 matches and got no SPP. Due a level up, on that Lineman. We'll get to see what Sod Snark picks up. But the team aren't looking too bad. Their record isn't great. They are towards the bottom end of the table. They've got 1 win out of their 6 games so far. In fact, we'll take a look at the leaderboard now because we've been through all the games. So it's Andy Davo at the top. 1 point clear of Steve. And here's Chaos Team Samoa. And then Adult Entertainment, a further 2 points back. Worth keeping an eye on the G manual this week if you read that sort of thing. Because, for those who don't know, I am back with Path to the Playoffs. I'm going to be predicting all the playoff qualifiers from every division. And I think GMAN 4C, 4D, and 4E are first under Rodder's microscope from GMAN. So, I'm going to be trying to pick the 2 teams who are going to qualify for the playoffs here. I think you can probably guess who one of them are. They're probably quite a safe bet. But it'll be interesting to see who gets the second spot. Cold One Cannibals and the 3 Musketeers and Spares in 4th and 5th. Joint records, which are elevated slightly by both these teams have had bye-week wins. So probably need to get a good run of form together to really challenge towards the top. But they're only a point behind Parmu as it stands. 1 point further back are the gender-neutral Elves and the Necron Warriors, with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats each. And then Burning Inferno on 9 points with 3 wins and 3 defeats. Not really a fan of the draw, the Undead team. Grumpkins and Snarks have 1 win and 3 draws, so they're on 6 points. So you'd probably say from price downwards, probably little to no chance of making the playoffs now in this division. Dragon Boy, Pete, and Falcon Merc may even be outside shots at this point. You'd really need to see some serious win streaks from one of those coaches now to really overcome this bit of a gap they've got to the sides at the top now. Especially saying you wouldn't expect to see the Dark Elves or the Chaos dropping too many more points because they're starting to develop quite nicely. Chaos, of course, only getting stronger as they go. How are the Week 7 fixtures looking? Well, gender-neutral Elves are taking on Cold One Cannibals. That should be a good game. The Wood Elves up against the Lizards. 2 sides who are... They both really need a win there to have to bring themselves back into the playoff picture, I'm trying to say. Uncured Pestilence, I think, are possibly going to be replaced. So Grumpkins and Snarks will be up against a brand new, fresh team. Big game there as Andy Davo takes on Parmu. Davo's Dark Delight's taking on Adult Entertainment. So, again, if Parmu could get a win in that one, and Andy has already lost 1 game. He lost the first game of the season and then has won 5 games on the bounce. I think if the Dark Elves get a win, then they're probably looking like heavy favourites to win the division. And Parmu will be on the back foot a little bit. Wheel of Fruits are taking on Samoa. So when you're already dead, the last thing you want to see is chaos. But it's not massive killy chaos just yet. There'll be a few inducements in the bank for Soul 96, who hopefully will just nothing will die against the chaos of Samoa. But you would imagine Steve will be quite confident of getting a win there and ramping up the pressure on the sides at the top, and also maybe securing a bit of breathing space for the playoff places as well, with Adult Entertainment taking on the league leaders at the moment. Necron Warriors take on Fetche Lavash, which is a tough one to call because Fetche Lavash are a new join. They've only just jumped into the league. Haven't actually taken a look at Nurgle Gruntfoot's team. Tonians. Nergi Gruntfoot, I should say. They are literally completely fresh. So they've only got a couple of... well, they got 1 Kaz and 1 MVP on a couple of the blockers. But nothing else really to write home about at the moment. So they'll get a few inducements in hand up against the Necron Warriors. I don't think they have quite enough to pick up Griff. Because they might have been considering playing Griff Ball here. Don't know if they have enough. They are... Oh, how much short? Well, they're 300 short. And they have 20k in the bank. So I am going to do some quick research. To try and find out. I think Griff is 320k. Off the top of my head. He is 320k. So it is possible that the Bretonians just throw the lot at Griff Oberwald, because they won't need to pick up any journeyman, and just say, right, we're going to play Griff Ball for this one. What can you do about that, Pete? Because I don't think Pete has an awful lot of tackle on his team. In fact, he has no tackle whatsoever. So it could be an interesting way for the new Bretonian team to go. Might give them a decent chance. Don't write them off there. What else is happening in Week 7? Rotterdam has taken on Pixie Rail, and Prague Dynamo, the Kislev, taken on the Skaven. Three Musketeers really looking to bounce back from that heavy 4-0 defeat in week 6. And finally, Fabulous Darling are taking on Burning Inferno. That is a couple of mid to lower table sides. Fabulous Darling are 11th and Burning Inferno are 9th. So, as I said, Burning Inferno probably a long shot for the playoffs, having already lost 3 games. You would suggest they probably can't really afford to lose any more games over the course of the whole season to have any chance of the playoffs if that's their aim for the season. So need a win there. Fabulous Darling probably with 4 defeats, probably already out of that picture. But looking to get some more development. So that one should be an interesting game as well. Alright guys, well I think that will probably wrap it up for this recap from Division 4A and Division 4E. I should hopefully be back next week with another one so we can check how these week 7 games went. But yeah, you know me, I'll be around streaming some things. Hopefully I'll actually be able to catch some of these games if they're on Friday or over the weekend. I might have a bit of streaming time over the weekend. Give these divisions some love. And keep an eye on the G manual as well for my picks of which of these teams are going to qualify. But of course, across all the divisions, I'm going to be picking the potential qualifiers as well. So Division 4A probably won't be too far behind. But guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you all next time.